Good evening, welcome to Wednesday's Granada Report.
We are live with the latest news and sport across the northwest coming up tonight.
7 years on from Grenfell, and after a damning report into the cause of the fire, there are still people in the northwest forced to live in unsafe homes.
This whole cladding system, this whole grey area needs to be removed. It's not compliant. It's hard to say, but this system could go up in flames.
The shocking new study that shows women in the north live shorter and harder lives than anywhere else in the country.
Getting every last ounce out of herself to claim the gold medal.
There is nothing like a dame. Our very own Dame Sarah Story wins her 18th Paralympic gold.
What one Oasis superfan's willing to give up to see his favourite band again.
And humidity and temperatures are on the rise as we approach the end of this week. I'll have all the weather details later on in the programme.
First, a damning public inquiry has concluded that decades of failure by the government and the building industry led to the Grenfell Tower disaster, which claimed the lives of 72 people.
Yet 7 years on, residents in the northwest are still being forced to live in unsafe homes.
Most only found out following a nationwide review of housing safety which followed Grenfell. The former Conservative government urged developers, in the words of one minister, to do the right thing and pay for the remedial work needed to make their buildings legal.
But it's a sad fact that on many buildings across our region, that work still hasn't been done. Our reporter Hannah Yosef has more.
This whole cladding system, this whole grey area needs to be removed. It's not compliant. It's hard to say, but this system could go up in flames.
That's terrifying to think that this is your home, your haven, and it's so unsafe.
It's worrying, and we just want to fix it. We just want permission to get on and get it fixed.
Tom says his life's been put on hold since finding out the Manchester high-rise he calls home has safety issues costing millions to fix.
It impacts me, it impacts my neighbours. Once you know you've got an issue like this, you can't really move on, you can't really change things in your life. So in the time since we found out, in the last 5.5 years, I've had neighbours who've had babies who can't move into houses because they can't sell. I've got people who've got divorced who then can't move on with their lives. And we're totally stuck, we're trapped.
Do you think the Building Safety Act is working?
The Building Safety Act is not working, not yet. If this was my house on a street and I knew I'd got this problem, I would go out and I would fix it straight away. But we're in the hands of so many other people, so many other agencies that we have to deal with, the freeholder, etc., who control the building. Ultimately, we can't influence what happens with our homes. We can't make it safe on our own. We need their help and support, and it's not happening quickly enough.
Tom's hoping work will start shortly, and he's thankful most of the costs will now be covered as they're protected by new laws. But the end isn't in sight yet.
And I'm talking to friends and family, they still can't believe that it's so many years after the tragic fire at Grenfell that we haven't made progress, that we haven't made our home safe. It's great that we're hitting various milestones to move things forward, but until we actually take the cladding off, until we've actually replaced it with safe materials, we've not resolved this issue here or anywhere else.
Today's damning report into the Grenfell tragedy resonates with those still battling to make their home safe.
The report's obviously just been published, it's extensive. It's saying what we thought, what we knew all along really, that all the deaths at Grenfell were avoidable. So what that tells us now is that this government, Sir Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner, need to get on with making our homes safe across the country with no further delays.
The people who build our homes and are responsible for keeping them safe really learnt lessons from Grenfell.
They haven't learned a single lesson at all. So whether it's the corporations, the industry, developers, product manufacturers, but it's also the government. No one's really learnt those lessons fully because we're still too many people across the country, across Greater Manchester, are still trapped in unsafe homes.
For those residents still living in limbo, the fight to make their homes safe goes on. Hannah Yosef, ITV News.
Well, I think that is a story that we're going to keep telling over the years for our region, and there is more to come on the Grenfell Report in the National News at 6:30.
Next though, and for many women watching, this might not sound like news. A major new survey saying that women in the north have tougher and shorter lives than those in parts of the south.
Yeah, this is a big piece of research and its findings are actually quite startling. Here's some of the main points.
Women in the north of England live up to 4 years less than the national average and up to 6 years less than women from the southeast.
Women in the north are paid less. They lose out on £132 every week in pay compared to elsewhere in the country.
And women in the northwest also suffer the third highest levels of domestic abuse.
It's a depressing picture, isn't it? Our reporter Jennifer Buck went to speak to women in Bootle on Merseyside to see if the findings sounded familiar.
Women in the north are up against it, struggling with lower wages, shorter life expectancy and a higher chance of being in an abusive relationship. Sefton Women and Children's Aid see the impact of domestic violence every day. Nicola, not her real name, has been coming here for years after long-term abuse at home and says domestic violence can take many forms.
I think we've come quite a long way from the old-fashioned stereotypical idea of a woman with a black eye from her partner. My experience is actually from family, from parents, from a very young age, also into being a young adult. It was both emotionally, physically, sexually abusive.
How difficult is it to leave an abusive or a violent situation?
It's very difficult to leave, especially because you're often not in control. And I think now, especially with the cost of living crisis, even when you've made that emotionally huge journey to decide to leave the situation that you're in, the practical aspects of it are a real struggle.
She is one of 1,700 people or families being cared for here every year. Tina, one of the adult caseworkers, says poverty in the north is a big problem.
The lack of money turns people to other coping mechanisms like alcohol and drugs, and they seem to be quite large factors within domestic abuse.
Even in the northwest alone, there's still a huge divide. Women obviously traditionally used to stay at home, didn't used to go to work, look after the children, etc. That's definitely not the case anymore. I have friends who work 2 and 3 jobs just in order to keep their heads above water.
Health Equity North published the report and say changes can be made, ideas welcomed in Sefton.
Trying to make sure that women are both paid a fair wage, but also have fair access to the services, for example childcare, that is affordable so that they can remain economically active.
I think there should be a more even split with government money to different councils and different boroughs. I'd like to see that a little bit more even spread out, a bit more focus on the north.
Jennifer Buck, ITV News in Sefton.
Well, the new government has responded to that report. It told us it was wrong that people in different parts of the country had different life chances.
It says it's committed to improving conditions for working women with measures to improve pay and reduce sexual harassment.
Yeah, and it went on to say we will also take action across government to tackle the underlying causes of poor health, support people to live independently for longer and reduce the gap in healthy life expectancy between the richest and poorest regions in England.
Some more of the day's news, and more than 900 objections have been registered against plans to build a hotel on the shore of Windermere.
But the opposition is against the sewer network, not the hotel. It's claimed the wastewater treatment site next door won't be able to cope with the new development.
The pressure group Save Windermere says it's highlighted the need for United Utilities to invest more to meet future demand.
It has been basically backing up through the system and coming out of the top. So there's already an issue with capacity at the site now, let alone when a development has then increased the amount of sewage that's going into it.
Well, United Utilities says it's invested to increase capacity at the Ferry House storage tank and will invest further to meet future needs.
Staying in Cumbria, and a consultation got underway today over proposals to introduce 20 mph speed limits across 28 areas covered by Westmoreland and Furness Council. Communities have called for the change to make their roads safe, reduce noise and enhance the environment for walking and cycling. The council says the consultation will include an online survey and letter drops in the 28 areas.
Right, well, next tonight, and as many parents from this area will be aware, from the start of this month, funding for nursery places increased, and that is the good news.
Yeah, the not so good news is that extra nursery places means the need for extra nursery staff. And of course, one of the challenges for the new government will be to encourage thousands more to work in the sector, which has been struggling with recruitment for years now.
So the good news with that is that there's an apprenticeship scheme on offer.
The not so good news is few people know about it. James Webster reports.
More children than ever can now get childcare paid for by the government, and at a younger age, increasing the demand for nursery places.
Let's play. Look, we can have a tea party.
An extra demand that many are already noticing.
We have lots of parents coming to see the setting week in, week out. Most weeks we're fully booked for show rounds, and parents are eager to get their child booked in as soon as possible. Parents want to get back into work, they want their child to be in a setting that they're comfortable, that they're learning, so it's important for them to bring their child to a setting that they can learn and thrive.
From this month, government-funded childcare has been extended from working parents of 2-year-olds to those whose children are just 9 months old, creating a need for 40,000 new childcare workers by this time next year. But research shows many young people here in the North West don't know one of the routes into the sector. In Manchester, 3/4 of 15 to 19-year-olds hadn't heard of the Early Years Educator Apprenticeship.
Calling bright minds and big hearts.
That's why the Department for Education has started a new campaign around this year's exam results season to promote apprenticeships.
Oh look, we used the mini scooper and we made a little one.
Kira started hers here in Sale when she was 16.
I work in a toddler room. They're hilarious, honestly, at this age. They're so funny. Listening to their little chuckles, it brings me so much joy.
The on-the-job training was much more appealing than a college course.
In school, I was quite anxious, so college kind of reminded me of feeling that way, so I didn't want to go down that route again. So I looked into apprenticeships, and it said that obviously you get paid while doing the job, you'll get time out to do all the studying, and I just thought it's perfect.
Kids Planet, based in Lymm, has been offering apprenticeships at its nurseries for 6 years. Claire Roberts has grown the business from just 2 nurseries. Spreading from the northwest, they're now across England and Wales. She says her apprentices are a valuable part of the workforce.
I think what we used to find a number of years ago was that colleagues came to us with a formal qualification, but they actually then needed to learn the practicality of what working in an early years setting was. But what we found this way is it actually helps us to nurture, develop, mentor those colleagues. So they're actually getting the practical experience on the job at the same time as getting the formal qualification that recognises the work that they've done.
And then can we do another big loop?
Kira hopes one day she is the one running a network of nurseries, a sector which will grow significantly in the next 12 months and needs more people like Kira to work within it. James Webster, ITV News.
Next, to a teenager who will leave you all inspired this evening.
He certainly will. His name is James Holcroft. He's 19 and he is from Chorley. And this weekend he is taking on the Great North Run.
Now that's impressive in itself, but James, who as you can see has been working hard in training, is running for a charity very close to his heart. When he was 10 years old, James was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. He spent more than 100 days in hospital and lost the ability to walk.
And it was at that point that a man called Barry Wells stepped in. Barry runs a charity called Box for Kids, which invites seriously ill children and their families to enjoy VIP experiences at iconic sporting and entertainment venues. And throughout James's recovery, he and many others have enjoyed some memorable days out, thanks to Barry's generosity.
Well, the great news is that James has been given the all clear and he's now ready to repay the favour and raise money for Barry's charity.
He is indeed, and they both joined us in the studio a short time ago. Barry started by telling us about the first time they met.
James came along, and at that particular stage, James was 10 years old. You were in intense chemotherapy at the time. He looked really, really ill at the time, and I just, can't believe it when I look at him now. I just think the changes over the last 8 years, just incredible.
Well, look at you now, James, fighting fit. You look amazing, and
thank you very much.
I know you benefited a lot, didn't you, from these events and things that you did with Box for Kids. Just tell us about some of the things that you got involved with.
Oh, there's been some fantastic memories. We've been going to like Liverpool, Sale Sharks, the Jockey Club at Haydock Racecourse. But yeah, definitely some great, fantastic memories that I've got for life.
And how did it help you, do you think, when you're going through this incredibly difficult time? I mean, that chemotherapy that you were having was really intense, wasn't it? And made you feel rotten. How did these help, these things, these events?
It was great, yeah. It was like a distraction massively from what you was going through like every day. And it made you feel a bit like special as well, because you was going out to these boxes that you just never dream of having, and just experiencing some of them events was, fantastic.
Barry, I know that you pay for this yourself. Why are you so passionate about helping these young people?
Well, I was a financial services entrepreneur until 2008, and then I just thought, that's a very selfish existence, all driven by business plans and key performance indicators. I just thought I'd give all my money away. Over the rest of my life, I'd become a philanthropist, so I need to come up with something. So I was with my son at the Olympics in Beijing and decided that what I would do sponsor athletes like Keely, Jessica Ennis, but also Box for Kids, when I would take kids who were seriously ill and give them this incredible experience, in a VIP experience, when people come in the box, like Katerina, to talk to them. So I've got that all over the country. So I've taken 21,000 now in total. So they're big numbers, but it really is the happiest time of my life. I just get so much joy from actually seeing what these children do. And this is such a special case.
Well, James, let's talk about the Great North Run. You're taking it on this weekend.
This one,
We've mentioned Katerina there. She's actually sent you a good luck message, hasn't she? Should we take a quick look at that first?
Yeah.
I first remember meeting you when you were only 10 years old in one of Box for Kids events at Anfield, and it's great to see you getting better and making all the progress you've made. I'm so thrilled for you, and keep it up, and I do hope you smash it and raise lots of money for Box for Kids.
How amazing is that? I know that Kat inspires you, but you clearly inspire her too. How special is it to have her support, an Olympic silver medalist?
Oh, definitely, yeah. To see like Katerina Johnson-Thompson send a message like that was definitely a big encouragement during training and everything. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, James, we wish you all the very best with the Great North Run. I'm sure you're going to smash your timings, your personal best, no doubt.
Yeah.
Good luck with it, and thank you both so much for coming to talk to us today.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Two brilliant people doing brilliant things. It was great to meet them, wasn't it?
It really was, and Barry just absolutely loves what he does, doesn't he?
He does.
Absolutely loves it. Good luck, James, with your Great North Run. Now, from one speedy young man to another speedy young lady, Golden Games for Great Britain's most decorated Paralympian, Dame Sarah Storey. She's a history-making cyclist from Disley near Stockport, of course, and she won her 18th gold medal after storming to victory in the C5 time trial.
Yes, incredibly, Paris is her 9th Paralympics. For Dame Sarah, who's now 46, she was cheered on today by her friends and family, including her 2 children, Louisa and Charlie.
And as David Chisner reports, she's not our only Paralympian inspiring others at home to get involved in parasports.
All eyes now on Dame Sarah Storey.
Dame Sarah Storey is the golden girl of British Paralympics. While most of us were tucking into our breakfast this morning, Disley's cycling superstar and this country's most decorated Paralympian was racing to victory in the C5 time trial in Paris to extend her record-breaking tally of golds to 18, a special moment for her and her watching family.
I'm so proud of her, and she's just amazing. It's quite hard to explain because it's like a feeling that you get. It's like, oh my gosh, they've done it. Yay!
It's been amazing, and I think having the full family here, which obviously in Tokyo we weren't able to do, was it was a really special moment today.
After spectators were banned from the Tokyo Paralympics because of COVID, Sarah wanted to win in front of her children in Paris to give them lifelong memories.
Louisa was 3 in Rio. You can remember a few bits of it, but you can't remember that moment of having the medal hung round Mummy's neck, can you?
Didn't I sing Let It Go?
You did, yes. Yeah, instead of the national anthem, yeah.
Well, these are Sarah's 9th games, a run that started as a swimmer back in Barcelona in 1992. Table tennis player Mark Palmer was in the Paralympics GB squad with her back in Sydney in 2000.
It's amazing in terms of that. I mean, I went to my only games in 2000, and to see Sarah going for 9 games and the dedication and commitment and enthusiasm that she's put into it is tremendous, and she's sort of the golden girl of the games, but just someone Paralympic sport looks up to. Can you pull me?
Mark now works at the Greenbank Sports Academy in Liverpool, which is one of the leading centres for disability sport. At Liverpool One's Paralympic fan zone today, he was encouraging shoppers to have a go.
Ever done anything like this before?
No, it's the first time.
How did you find it?
It was hard. I thought it would be easier, like watching the other people, but it's much harder than it seems.
I ran over so many cones on the way there, and I'm sure the people playing, para basketball or whatever are, a lot better than I am. So yeah, it's very cool. They have to sort of coordinate playing their sport as well as, moving in this way. It's very, very cool.
It's a culmination of everything that we've done through the summer. We've had Wimbledon, we've had Test cricket, we've had the Olympics, and now, obviously, Paralympics as well. It's been hugely popular, particularly when the weather has been better. It's something that everybody just wants to see at the moment, and long may that continue.
And the second of the 3 British tandem.
Well, Liverpool's very own Laura Faki has also been among the medals today. On her 36th birthday, she won a bronze with her partner Corinne Hall in the women's B individual time trial. Well, there were more celebrations for teenage swimmer Poppy Maskell from Alsager, who won her 4th medal of these games, a silver in the SM14 200-metre individual medley.
What a week she is having here in Paris.
And with the road race on Friday, Dame Sarah's gold rush may not be over yet. David Chisnell, ITV News.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Friday. To some football news now, and Steve Bruce says he's delighted to be back in management after being appointed the new Blackpool boss. The 63-year-old former Manchester United defender has been out of work since leaving West Brom 2 years ago. The League One side now become the 13th club he'll take charge of in a 26-year managerial career that's also included spells with Wigan, Aston Villa and Newcastle. Next, and the controversy over the cost of tickets to see Oasis shows no sign of going away. The Prime Minister and even the European Commission have weighed in today, saying they'll investigate so-called surge pricing.
Yeah, and it was a silly money being demanded for those tickets that's behind our next story, and it's actually a really nice one.
It is. It's coming to you courtesy of our friends at ITV Anglia News in the southeast. It's all about one Oasis superfan willing to swap his most prized possession for a chance to see the band live next year.
ITV Anglia's Matt Hudson has more.
The now legendary Nebworth shows by Oasis in 1996 delighted 250,000 gig-goers over 2 nights. And somewhere in that heaving throng, caught up in the magic of the moment, was then 15-year-old Ant Lanny. A few months later, Ant's brazen teenage cheek would gain him a special piece of memorabilia when he knocked on singer Liam Gallagher's door and got him to chat.
Behind him on the wall, there was some platinum discs, so I just cheekily said, "Hey Liam, I don't suppose I could have one of those discs on the wall?" And he turned around, looked on the wall, then looked at me and then grabbed it off the wall and just passed it to me. And at that moment, I just thought he'd let me look at it. But then he said, "There you go, if you don't ask, you don't get." And then me and my friends were just in complete shock.
Ant's meeting with one of rock music's most unpredictable characters featured on ITV Anglia, with the teenager proudly showing us his disc, including a somewhat bizarre signature, and kicking a football around the garden with baby brother Alex. Not surprisingly for such a long-term Oasis fan, this remains one of Ant's most prized possessions. He promised Liam Gallagher at the time that he would never sell it to anybody else, and that's a promise he intends to keep. But giving it back to the band under the right circumstances, well, that's a different matter. Because sadly, Ant and his friends missed out in the ticket scramble for next year's gigs. As a dad to 3 young children, he can't afford the crazy prices they're now changing hands for. His only hope would seem to be his erstwhile benefactor.
If Liam come and said to me, "Oh, here's some tickets, I'll have my disc back," I'd only ever give it back to Liam. I wouldn't swap the disc for tickets to anyone else. But of course, if Liam was able to do that, it'd be amazing.
Years pass, but Ant still plays a little keepy up, and he's still mad for Oasis. Does he want to see them play? Definitely. Will he get to see them play? Maybe. It might depend on their previously philanthropic frontman. Matthew Hudson, ITV News in Stevenage.
Well, I'm impressed he knocked on the door. Well, we will let you know if Liam gets in touch. Now, the band themselves have announced today that they're going to put some more dates on, 2 more at Wembley, and the tickets, they say, will be sold by a staggered invitation-only ballot.
But how much will they cost this time? That is the big question. Time for the weather now. Here's Joe.
Have you burnt tea again?
I'm scraping the cooled oil into the bin, not the sink.
Can we eat outside? It's nice.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Over the next few days, we'll see an improvement in our weather. It's tending to settle down and it'll be warming up from tomorrow with humidity on the rise to end this week. Decent sunny spells to come for the northwest of England and the Isle of Man. Now, down to the south of the country, during tomorrow and into Friday, a spell of heavy rain. But for our part of the world, the northwest, it's likely to be a good deal drier and brighter with some decent sunshine to end the working week. Back to this evening's details, and showers tend to peter out over the next few hours. There'll be some breaks in the cloud before low cloud and mistiness descends once again, and it could be rather foggy into the early hours of tomorrow morning. As we approach dawn, showery rain will move down across our part of the world, perhaps as we wake up tomorrow morning, cloudy skies, damp conditions, but it's not a chilly night, 11 or 12 Celsius, the overnight low. On to tomorrow, the sun is up at 6:28. It'll set at 10 to 8 tomorrow evening. A damp and cloudy start across the board tomorrow for our part of the world, but it will tend to cheer up a little bit. We've got a cool breeze, so it's never feeling particularly warm. But skies will brighten for the Lancashire coast, parts of Western Cumbria through the course of the day. Low cloud and mistiness tending to affect Pennine areas, and quite a fresh breeze picking up on higher ground by the end of the day as well. So it's windy and cool, but 19 or 20 Celsius is possible tomorrow in the brighter spots. After tomorrow, you'll notice it feels a little bit warmer into the weekend, and certainly Friday. A decent day, lots of sunshine around and feeling very warm at 24 degrees. Keeping hold of decent temperatures for Saturday and Sunday, but drawing in more cloud on both those days.
It's a little bit burnt.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks very much, Joe, and that is just about it for this evening. No word from Liam Gallagher yet about Ant's disc, but we will, of course, keep you posted.
We will indeed. It'll be top story on the late news just after news at 10 if he does. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.